Cleveland's practice field looks less like a training camp and more like the setting of a slow-motion train wreck. And everyone with a phone camera is watching. Viral clips of Shedeur Sanders throwing absolute darts to Jerry Jeudy have blown up the internet. Textbook footwork, compact release, pinpoint placement, throws that make you sit up and wonder why he isn't getting more reps. At the same time, rookie Dillon Gabriel keeps getting tripped up by routine movement, taking sacks on plays that should be automatic and looking overwhelmed in pressure moments. The contrast is so stark it reads like a parody, except it's real, messy, and unfolding in front of the entire NFL world. What turns this from a simple quarterback debate into a full-blown organizational mystery is how the Browns coaching staff is handling it. Kevin Stefanski and his staff have, bizarrely, avoided saying Shedeur's name in pressers, a coordinated silence that feels less like strategy and more like theater. Reporters are hunting for answers, insiders are leaking clips, and fans are wondering whether politics, pride, or panic are driving decisions that ignore what's obvious on tape. This isn't just about who starts on Sunday. It's about a franchise's priorities, credibility, and whether anyone inside that building is making sense. The chaos didn't actually start with a press conference or an insider leak. It started with a single practice clip that exploded across social media like gasoline hitting open flame. One short video, barely 20 seconds long, was enough to flip the entire Browns fan base upside down and turn Shedeur Sanders from interesting rookie into what on earth are we doing not starting this guy? The clip shows Shedeur dropping back with a level of polish that feels almost unreal for a young quarterback. Smooth footwork, balanced base, eyes scanning downfield with total calm. And then he lets it rip, a tight spiral that cuts through the air, like it's guided by GPS, landing perfectly into Jerry Jeudy's hands without even forcing him to adjust. No wasted motion, no hesitation, just pure, controlled talent. It wasn't a lucky throw. It was a demonstration, and fans knew it immediately. But that was just the opening act. More clips surfaced, more angles, more reps. Every throw looked like a quarterback tutorial, the kind of footage coaches normally use in teaching clinics. Shedeur wasn't just completing passes. He was placing the ball in exact locations that elite NFL quarterbacks get paid 9 figures to hit. Teammates noticed. Jeudy's reaction said everything. Impressed head nods, subtle smirks, that, yeah, this kid is different. Body language you only see when a receiver realizes his life just got easier. Then came the contrast no organization wants to go viral. Dillon Gabriel, the guy the coaching staff publicly insists they believe in, was being bumped around like a practice cone. Nearly falling over because someone walked past him, looking stiff during dropbacks. Missing windows. This wasn't fans overreacting. The footage itself created the narrative. Once both clips hit social media back to back, everything ignited. Fans didn't need analysts to explain the difference. They could see it in real time. One quarterback looked like a franchise cornerstone. The other looked like he wasn't ready for varsity ball. And right when fans expected the coaching staff to address the obvious, something even stranger started happening. What happened next is what turned this whole situation from a normal QB debate into something that feels like a full-blown organizational cover-up. Because instead of acknowledging what the entire world was seeing on video, Shedeur Sanders throwing absolute lasers in practice, the Browns coaching staff suddenly started behaving like Shedeur wasn't even on the roster. Not struggling, not competing, not developing, but simply not existing. Reporters noticed it first. In press conference after press conference, Kevin Stefanski was asked about the rookie quarterback, and every single time, he dodged the name. Not once, not twice. 8 full pressers without ever saying Shedeur Sanders. It wasn't an oversight. It wasn't a slip. It was deliberate. The kind of silence that felt coordinated, like every coach had agreed behind closed doors. We do not say his name. Fans joke that Stefanski was treating Shedeur like he who must not be named. But the joke stopped being funny when offensive coordinator Tommy Rees did the exact same thing. Hours of interviews, dozens of quarterback questions, endless praise for Dylan Gabriel's processing, leadership, and system knowledge, and not a single mention of Shedeur. It was like watching two grown adults pretend a star student wasn't outshining the teacher's pet in front of the entire classroom. The more they avoided him, the more obvious it became. This wasn't accidental. This was intentional. But that raised the bigger question. Why? Rumors started circulating online. Some fans believed the coaches were protecting Gabriel's confidence. Others thought Stefanski was doubling down on his decision just to avoid embarrassment. A few even speculated about politics behind the scenes, draft position, internal egos, front office pressure. The kind of stuff teams never admit publicly, but absolutely influences decisions. And every time a reporter tried to bring the conversation back to Shedeur's talent, the staff dodged it with robotic talking points. We're focused on the guys taking reps. We like the progress we're seeing. We evaluate everything as a team. Empty phrases, no substance, no accountability. By this point, the coaching silence wasn't just weird, it felt suspicious. And if the coaches weren't going to talk, someone else had to step up and expose what was really happening. Which brings us to the one person who refused to stay quiet. If the Browns' coaching staff thought staying silent would make the controversy disappear, they clearly forgot one crucial detail. Cleveland has some of the most relentless, sharp-eyed reporters in the entire NFL landscape. And the moment something didn't smell right, those reporters didn't just report, they investigated. Leading the charge was none other than Mary Kay Cabot, a journalist so respected in Cleveland that fans trust her more than half the front office. She's covered the franchise through every rebuild, every collapse, every quarterback carousel, and every chapter of chaos this team has produced for decades. She knows the patterns, she knows the games, and she knows when something isn't adding up. So instead of waiting for Stefanski to slip, she did what real journalists do. She grabbed her phone, pointed the camera, and started documenting practice like she was filming classified military activity. Quiet angles, hidden zooms, clips that showed what coaches refused to discuss. Browns fans started calling her MKC-007 because she was dropping practice footage like undercover spy intel. And then there was Tony Rizzo. While Mary Kay was collecting visual evidence, Rizzo was dissecting the verbal patterns. He went back through 8 full press conferences and discovered something jaw-dropping. Not once, not a single time, did Stefanski refer to Shedeur Sanders by his actual name. That's not a coincidence. That's a coordinated omission. Rizzo didn't stop there. He went scorched earth on air, calling the behavior organizationally insane, professionally embarrassing, and the beginning of the end. He compared the coaching staff's responses to political spin, not football evaluation. And Browns fans? They weren't just nodding along, they were celebrating a journalist finally saying what they were all thinking but couldn't articulate. With reporters exposing the silence and the footage proving the talent gap, public pressure exploded. And suddenly, the spotlight wasn't just on the quarterbacks. It was on the staff making the decisions. But the more the coaches talked, the worse things got. Because their explanations didn't just fail. They actively made the situation look even stranger. As reporters kept pressing for answers, the Browns coaching staff finally responded, but not with honesty, clarity, or even basic football logic. Instead, they delivered some of the most head-scratching, reality-defying excuses fans had ever heard. If you didn't know better, you'd think they were trying to gaslight an entire city. Offensive coordinator Tommy Rees became the unofficial spokesperson for this strange new era of Browns football denial. In an interview that felt like it lasted 17 hours, Rees praised Dillon Gabriel's processing, his command, his understanding of the playbook, and his leadership presence. He talked so long and so passionately about these intangibles that fans started wondering if he was describing a quarterback or interviewing Gabriel for a job at Goldman Sachs. What he didn't talk about, not even once, was the actual on-field performance, the sacks, the hesitation, the wobbling mechanics, the viral clips of him nearly falling over when a staff member brushed past him. None of the things that were obvious to anyone with working eyes. Even stranger, Rees managed to defend Gabriel for every possible reason under the sun, without ever mentioning Shedeur Sanders by name. Continuing the bizarre trend Stefanski had started, it was like the entire staff was operating under a do not speak his name policy, as if merely acknowledging Shedeur's existence would summon chaos. Meanwhile, fans watched Shedeur put on a masterclass in practice, perfect footwork, elite timing, NFL-level placement, and listened to coaches pretend none of it mattered. The disconnect was surreal. The excuses were flimsy, and the fans weren't buying a word of it. To make things worse, each justification contradicted the previous one. One coach said they were trusting experience. Another said they were building for the future. One claimed Gabriel gives us the best chance to win, even though the tape clearly showed the opposite. It felt less like a coaching staff making decisions and more like a coaching staff scrambling to avoid accountability. And the strangest part? The more confusing the explanations became, the more fans began to wonder if something deeper, something behind the scenes, was driving all of this, which leads us directly into the next question everyone is asking. At some point, every fan watching this saga unfold had the same thought. Does Kevin Stefanski even care anymore? Because nothing about his body language, his press conferences, or his decisions resemble a coach fighting for his job. Instead, he looks like a man who's emotionally clocked out. A coach standing on the sideline thinking, "Fire me, I dare you." This isn't an accusation, it's an observation that even longtime Cleveland insiders are openly discussing. Tony Rizzo went viral for saying exactly what fans were whispering. When a coach stops making sense, that's the beginning of the end. And that's precisely the vibe Stefanski's been giving off. Look at the pattern. A quarterback controversy explodes. One QB looks like your future. The other looks overwhelmed. The solution should be simple. But instead of confronting the obvious, Stefanski acts like he's allergic to clarity. He avoids Shedeur Sanders' name like it triggers dark magic. He delivers vague, robotic phrases with no conviction. And when pressed on why Gabriel continues to get the nod despite glaring issues, he shrugs off the questions like someone who's already accepted his fate. Rumors began swirling, not wild conspiracies, but simple, logical theories. Some say Stefanski is fed up with front office politics. Others think he's sick of being blamed for quarterback failures he didn't cause. A few believe he's mentally preparing for the end of his Browns tenure and is simply coasting until the franchise pulls the plug. Reports even suggest that behind closed doors, Stefanski has become noticeably colder, shorter, and more dismissive. Classic signs of burnout. Anyone who's ever had a job where they hit their limit knows the feeling. The moment when you stop caring about consequences because the stress outweighs the paycheck. And honestly, that's exactly how Stefanski looks right now. Instead of fighting for his best players, demanding accountability, or pushing for the obvious QB competition, he's doubling down on decisions nobody understands. And if the coach is checked out, the team suffers. Bad decisions multiply. Mistakes get ignored. Talent gets wasted. Which brings us to the breaking point. The on-field evidence that made fans question everything If there was ever a moment that exposed the Browns' quarterback decision-making for the disaster it truly is, it wasn't the interviews, it wasn't the silence, it wasn't even the viral practice footage. It was the actual game tape, the evidence nobody can spin, deny, or hide behind coach speak. And unfortunately for Dillon Gabriel, that tape is brutal. The first red flag was 4th and 1, the kind of play every quarterback dreams of converting. The defense was soft. The running lane was open, and all Gabriel had to do was hand the ball off or make the simplest read in football. Instead, he froze. He hesitated. And then he took a catastrophic sack that sucked the life out of the entire drive. Fans watching didn't even get angry at first. They just sat there stunned. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a misfire of basic quarterback instincts. Then came the moment that truly broke the fan base. End of the first half. 12 seconds left. No timeouts. Ball in field goal range. With everything working against him, the clock, the situation, the pressure, there was only one correct move. Throw it away or spike it. Instead, Gabriel held onto the ball like he was waiting for divine intervention. And when he inevitably took a sack, the stadium collectively gasped. Those seconds could have cost them points, momentum, and possibly the game. It was the exact kind of rookie mistake Shedeur Sanders wasn't making in practice. The kind of mistake that exposes a quarterback's mental clock, confidence, and readiness. And the worst part? These weren't isolated errors. They were patterns, habits, signs of a player not yet ready for NFL speed. Fans asked the obvious question: why is a quarterback who can't maintain pocket awareness being protected by the coaching staff like he's a franchise cornerstone? Meanwhile, the quarterback showing poise, precision, and promise behind the scenes was treated like a ghost. As the mistakes piled up, the silence around Shedeur became even more suspicious, and fans were left wondering one thing: if talent, performance, and results don't determine who plays, then what does? At this point in the saga, fans weren't just frustrated, they were confused, angry, suspicious, because nothing happening inside the Browns organization lined up with what everyone was seeing with their own eyes. And the biggest, loudest question hanging over everything was simple and impossible to ignore. Why won't they let Shedeur Sanders compete for the job he's clearly earned? It's not like Shedeur is struggling. It's not like he's behind in development. It's not like he's failing to grasp the playbook or the pressure. In fact, based on every practice clip, insider note, and teammate reaction, he's doing everything right. And doing it at a level that's impossible to hide. Yet the coaching staff continues pretending he doesn't exist. Why? Some fans believe it's draft politics. Gabriel was their pick, and admitting he isn't ready so soon would embarrass the front office. Others think Stefanski and his staff already mentally committed to Gabriel long before practice ever started, and now feel trapped by their own stubborn pride. Rumors also suggest ego might play a role, that certain coaches don't want to be proven wrong by a rookie who wasn't their guy. Because if Shedeur succeeds, it highlights how badly they misjudged the competition from the start. And for NFL coaches, public embarrassment can be more painful than losing games. There's also talk about internal tension, whispers about disagreements between staff, scouts, and possibly even ownership. Reports claim some people inside the building want Shedeur elevated, but others refuse to budge. That kind of conflict can paralyze a team, and fans are watching it unfold in real time. The most unsettling theory? Some believe Stefanski's job insecurity is influencing everything. A coach on the hot seat doesn't always make the best football decision. He makes the safest decision. And sometimes safe means sticking with the guy who knows the system, even if the guy who deserves the job is standing right there, out-throwing everyone. Whatever the reason, the conclusion is the same. A quarterback who looks ready is being stalled. A quarterback who looks overwhelmed is being protected. and the franchise is acting like the truth will stay hidden forever. But this kind of pressure doesn't fade. It builds, it spreads, and eventually, something inside the organization has to break. What's happening in Cleveland right now isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a slow-motion implosion, the kind of chaos that exposes cracks in leadership, fractures trust inside a locker room, and turns a franchise into a national spectacle. And the craziest part? It all started with practice footage the coaches hoped nobody would notice. But everyone noticed. Fans saw Shedeur Sanders playing at a level that demands attention. Analysts saw fundamentals, mechanics, and poise that scream NFL ready. Even teammates' reactions made it clear, this kid can play. Yet week after week, press conference after press conference, the Browns coaching staff refuses to acknowledge reality. They dodge questions. They avoid saying his name. They hide behind vague cliches and empty football jargon. They defend Dillon Gabriel as if protecting him is more important than winning games. And with every passing day, the silence becomes louder, stranger, and harder to justify. This isn't about favoritism anymore. It's about credibility. It's about a coaching staff that seems more committed to protecting its pride than helping its team succeed. It's about a fan base that's tired of excuses and fed up with leadership that can't see what's obvious. And it's about a young quarterback stuck in a system that refuses to give him the opportunity he's already earned. The pressure is mounting. Reporters are digging deeper. Fans are demanding answers. And every new clip of Shedeur lighting up practice only adds fuel to the fire. Cleveland is inching toward a tipping point, a moment when the organization will be forced to choose between clinging to a failing plan or embracing the player who's already proven he deserves a real shot. Because the truth is unavoidable. You cannot hide talent forever. You cannot silence a fan base that sees the truth. And you cannot keep ignoring the quarterback who might be the future of your franchise. This story isn't ending. It's escalating. And when the breaking point finally hits, the entire NFL will be watching.